I'm gonna pay you 2 cents on the dollar, and you're gonna sign this other paper that you lost the rest of it to me at gambling.
Today on Classic Movie Review, we are taking on the film noir Las Vegas Shakedown 1959. Las Vegas Shakedown is rated 5.5 on imdb.com. It's not that bad. On RottenTomatoes.com, there is no mention of this movie, and it does not show up under the names of any of the major actors. On August 27, 2015, Bob Stodel wrote an article for Nevada NPR titled Vegas Goes Dark. He spoke of the affection that film noir has for the gambling mecca of Las Vegas, saying, quote, "Film noir has long had a fascination with the extreme behaviors that Las Vegas seems to squeeze out of people. My 10 favorite noir films are among the genre's darkest, but they also preserve a visual record of a long-gone Las Vegas," unquote. Stodel rated his top 10 Las Vegas film noirs, with Las Vegas Shakedown 1955 saying, quote, "One of the highlights of the 1955 Las Vegas Shakedown is a visual record of Las Vegas. Images of the original Mirage Motel with the above-ground pool with windows, the Thunderbird Downs racetrack, the Union Pacific Rail Yard near Charleston Boulevard, and the interior and exterior images of the Hotel El Rancho Vegas are well preserved for posterity," unquote. New York Times film critic Bosley Carruthers said of the movie in a June 18, 1955 review, quote, "The best to be said for Las Vegas Shakedown, which came to the Palace yesterday, is that it offers some mildly intrusive glimpses of the fabulous Nevada gambling town. The views of the nightclubs, casinos, filling stations, and luxury motels that back up this routine melodrama are candid and colorful. But the story itself, well, read the title, and you pretty well got the whole tale, exclusive of incidental vignettes of various transients who have the gambling urge," unquote. How did I know Carruthers was not going to like this film? That is the way to bet. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Colleen Gray played teacher and author Julia Ray. She wore her hair up and was wearing glasses. She may have been the original nerd girl in movies, who when they let her hair down and take off her glasses, you realize they are beautiful. Gray was first covered in the Carney film noir Nightmare Alley 1947. Thomas Gomez played psychotic gangster Al Gimpy Sarago. This great actor was first mentioned in Key Largo 1948. Veteran actor Robert Armstrong played the role of an aging hood named Doc. Armstrong was first covered in King Kong 1933. Dennis O'Keefe played Joe Barnes, the cleanest casino owner in Vegas. O'Keefe was born in Iowa in 1908. His parents were vaudevillians, and like all of those children, he soon joined them on the road. O'Keefe attended the University of Southern California, but left school in his sophomore year. Beginning in the 1930s and lasting through 1937, O'Keefe made a living as an extra in films. After the film Saratoga 1937, Clark Gable recommended O'Keefe for better roles. O'Keefe received prominent roles in films such as Topper Returns 1941, The Leopard Man 1943, and The Story of Dr. Wassel 1944. He was also active on the radio during his entire career. O'Keefe continued with films like The Fighting CBs 1944, Brewster's Millions 1945, and The Lady Wants Mink 1953. O'Keefe made a significant mark in film noir with Hangmen Also Die 1943, T-Men 1947, Dishonored Lady 1947, Walk a Crooked Mile 1948, Raw Deal 1948, Woman on the Run 1950, The Fake 1953, Las Vegas Shakedown 1955, and Chicago Syndicate 1955. O'Keefe continued to work in film and television until 1966. A longtime smoker, he died in 1968 at the age of 60. Mara McAfee played shunned girlfriend Angela. She is known for being the uncredited nurse in Kiss Me Deadly 1955. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Inside the El Rancho Casino and Theater in Las Vegas, owner Joe Barnes, Dennis O'Keefe, is rudely brushing off a showgirl named Angela, Mara McAfee. She is in love with him, but he shows no interest. Joe requests Sam co-star James Alexander come to the office, with the day's reservations. Angela approaches Joe again. He tells her to get lost.
Joe.
I said get lost.
A lady that has been gambling at one of the tables asks about Joe. Angela says he is nice, but he just doesn't know how to love. The lady gambler, Mabel Dooley, Mary Beth Hughes, goes to talk to Joe. She explains that she has a gambling problem and lost $2 of the $3,000 she has from a land sale. She says her husband will go berserk when he finds out. Joe has no sympathy and sends her away.
But I didn't mean to lose $2,000.
The truth is, Mrs. Dooley, that you didn't intend to lose at all.
I thought maybe you might help me.
Suppose you had won. Would you have given the money back to me?
Sam comes in with the reservations and he and Joe start going through them one at a time. Sam knows a lot of the people. Joe says one of the people is coming to kill him. Joe is drawn to a name on the list, J.L. Ray. On a bus, a teacher is traveling to Las Vegas. She is an author named Julia L. Ray, Colleen Gray. Julia is a math teacher researching a book highlighting how you cannot win at gambling. Sam and Joe continue going through the list. The next name that they don't know is Wheeler Reed, James Milliken. Reed is traveling by airplane and tells his fellow passenger that he is an auto salesman. Reed says his wife is in Las Vegas getting a 6-week divorce. Back in the casino, an old dude is hitting on Dorothy Reed, Dorothy Patrick. She gives him the shove-off. Mabel Dooley is at the bar throwing back drinks. Sam and Joe continue their list. Ernest Raff, Charles Winiger, and Mary Raff, Elizabeth Patterson, are the following names of interest. They are an older couple driving in for a bit of fun. Ernest is the president of a bank in his hometown. A worker brings in a reservation that was just made. The reservation is for Al Gimpy Sarago, Thomas Gomez, which Joe thinks is the person that is going to kill him, and he is using his real name. Sam asks if Sarago was the guy the Kefauver Committee nailed. The Kefauver Committee was a special Senate committee that was investigating organized crime. Kefauver was one of the last Senate holdouts on opposing African American rights to vote. The conversation continues and they mention that Sarago was convicted of tax evasion. Sarago is traveling in a car with 2 tough guys, Doc, Robert Armstrong, and Matty, Joe Downing. He said he made the reservation at the El Rancho just to scare Joe. In conversation, Sarago says he is buying the club out for the syndicate. He also says he's going to kill Joe, slow and easy.
You still figure you can make him sell out?
I told the syndicate I could, didn't I?
Vegas ain't too crazy about guys like us moving in.
Bonds ain't gonna be too crazy about it either.
That place of his might be worth $10 million.
The time I spent on the rock, it ain't half enough.
Look, suppose he makes the deal. You still gonna kill him?
Real slow and easy.
Fortified with booze, Mabel Dooley goes back to the gambling table. Mr. Dooley, Frank Hanley, is calling different gambling joints looking for Mabel and the money. She gets a page over the intercom and is slow to leave the table. Mr. Dooley appears to give up. The Raffs check in and Joe meets him. Julia has arrived and has left a message for Joe to come see her. Raft asks that his presence in the casino not be announced to the papers because he is a small-town banker. Joe meets with Julia in the breakfast area. She has letters of introduction. Julia says she will be asking him for favors. Joe has to meet with the city manager and the sheriff, Charles Fredericks. Joe says he will have a bathing suit sent up to Julia's room and he will meet her at the pool later. The city manager tells that Sarago is out of jail and has some hitmen with him. They recommend Joe leave the city for a few days. They say they will take care of Sarago for him. Joe won't run. Julia gets her bathing suit. Reed shows up looking for his soon-to-be ex-wife. A wake-up call wakes Mabel in her room. Hungover, she searches her purse and only has a few $100s left. Banker Ernest Raff wants to start gambling, but first he is going to study the game. Sarago and his men plan what they are going to do at the El Rancho. Joe meets Julia at the pool. She has let her hair down and has lost her schoolmarm glasses. Julia confesses that she has come to study gambling for her book. Joe is not worried because people believe the house odds don't apply to them.
I was going to tell you that I was here to study the arithmetic of gambling odds.
Well, that'd be a pretty stuffy reason for coming here, wouldn't it?
In certain quarters, I'm considered to be a fairly stuffy person. I was sent here to do it for a book. Something technical, to be called Why You Can't Win.
Oh, anyone can win. If you try.
But I don't think you understand. I'm trying to prove to the public, mathematically, that over a period of time, there's a fractional percentage in favor of the house.
Oh, you can say that again. There sure is.
But this is going to be an expose. Doesn't that bother you at all?
Oh, people will always gamble. You see, everybody thinks the odds don't apply to them. That's our edge.
He then says she looks like his old flame, Maxine. Joe asks if he can get to know her better. She is timid and a prude. Joe thinks that is good. He tells her to meet him for lunch in an hour. Mabel is admiring herself in the mirror. She then counts her money, has a drink, and plans to win it all back. Her husband, Mr. Dooley, is hitching a ride to Las Vegas in a truck. Joe and Julia meet for lunch and accelerate through the courting process. They leave for his place, which is inside the casino. Sarago sends Maddie and Doc to case El Rancho. At Joe's place, he and Julia continue to talk. She says men run from her when they find out she is virtuous. They get all kissy-face, but she leaves. Reed is shooting craps, and Mr. and Mrs. Raft are there too. Mrs. Raft is sent away to shop. Julia hears that Joe is going to be killed. She decides not to leave town. Maddie and Doc enter the casino and are spotted by Joe. They are pulled into Joe's office on a false counterfeiting charge. They lie about who they are, and the guards take their guns. Joe says he has a gun because he might need to kill Sarago. Joe throws them out of the casino. Joe follows Maddie and Doc, and Julia runs after Joe. She apologizes and asks to be his someone special. He says if he is not back in 10 minutes, she should call the cops. Maddie and Doc go straight back to Sarago's room. Joe pulls his gun and kicks in the door of the room. The gangsters get the jump on Joe and beat him down. Julia calls for help. Sarago tries to beat Joe into signing an agreement to sell El Rancho for 2 cents on the dollar.
All right, pick him up. Pick the slob up. Put him in the chair. All right. Now, Joe, listen to me, you won't get mussed up. I'm going to buy Rancho Vegas, and you're going to sell it to me. I got it all out here, nice and legal. I'm going to pay you 2 cents on the dollar, and you're going to sign this other pay, that you lost the rest of it to me at gambling.
You're off your rocker again.
Sarago and his crew hear sheriff's sirens and flee before the law gets there. Mrs. Raft goes to the hotel operator to place a call to her daughter. Mr. Raft has the knack of craps and is winning. Mrs. Reed finds her husband and starts chewing on him about the divorce. Sarago and his companions hide out at an abandoned dog racing track. Julia's back at Joe's apartment, and they're getting along well. She extracts his life story. He says he fought in Korea at Heartbreak Ridge. Heartbreak Ridge is a battle from September 13th to October 15th, 1951, and is the plot floor for Heartbreak Ridge 1986. Joe's wife left him while he was at war. Joe and Julia get kissy face again. Mr. Raft is now a master of craps. Reed is still there, and Mabel shows up to gamble as well. Mrs. Reed is still waiting to talk divorce. Mrs. Raft comes back and tells her husband that the state examiners are coming to the bank and there is a shortage. Holy, it's a wonderful life, 1946. The sheriff comes with the news that Sarago and company are still on the loose. Joe offers to buy a complete evening outfit for Julia so they can go to a floor show. He then says she will be his wife.
I'm going to take you to see our first floor show tonight. Suppose you get into an evening dress, something pretty.
I'm afraid I left my one evening gown at home.
Well, I'll have them open the shop in the lobby. You pick out a complete outfit, you can put it on my tab. Anyone that's married to me is going to have to own a lot of gorgeous dresses.
I'm going to pick out the most stunning dress you've ever seen.
Sarago is obsessing about Joe like he's a white whale. Doc is trying to get him to calm down and try later.
All right, get the car out.
I don't like it. They come in here clean and now we're hot. We'll get picked up for attempted murder.
Nobody's picking me up.
Get your mind off Barnes for a while, will you? Face facts. Use your head.
You ever been in Alcatraz?
Sure. But I didn't spend as long in solitary as you did.
Doc, what are you trying to say?
Awful dark down in that hole.
I had plenty of time to think down there about him.
Yeah, too much.
He was the only witness against me. If it hadn't been for him, I'd have gone free.
Sarago and crew head out to get Joe. Mr. Reed has won $10,000 and plans to head home to take care of the bank. Mrs. Reed says they can't take the money home. Mr. Reed says he will gamble a few more hours and lose the money. Sarago's car is stopped at a sheriff's roadblock. Sarago shoots the two deputies. One of the deputies gets off a shot, killing Maddie. Sarago and Doc run off into the desert. One of the deputies dies. Mr. Reed can't lose the money and just keeps winning. Mabel's husband, Mr. Dooley, arrives at El Rancho. He grabs the wrong woman and gets picked up by security. Mr. and Mrs. Dooley are taken to Joe's office. She is back up to $1,700. Joe has a check made out for $2,500 so Mr. Dooley can buy a lunch truck. Joe explains that gambling is a disease. The couple reconciles. Joe gets the news about Sarago's escape. Angela comes in and grabs onto Joe. Julia sees it and is upset. Doc says he is leaving, but Sarago pulls a switchblade and stabs him. Sarago hides in the rail yard as the deputies continue to search for him. Doc flees as Sarago hides on a train. Mr. Reed is flat broke and sitting with his future ex-wife. He tries to make a fairer deal with his wife. Mr. Reed suddenly asks for her to reconcile. Miss Reed is happy to go back as long as he promises to get them out of debt. Joe gets a call from Doc. Doc wants Joe to come to his location, but Joe won't go. Doc says he will come to Joe. Joe lets the staff know to let Doc inside. The Reeds come in to talk with Joe. Mr. Reed tells about his mathematical system and how when he reversed the system, he kept winning. He now has $15,000. Joe offers to hold the money, but the Reeds want to leave it all behind. Joe suggests that the money be given to an Indian mission school near town. Julia is so happy with her man. The Reeds say they are not coming back to Vegas. Doc staggers in and falls. They take him to Joe's office. Doc will tell where Sarago is located if Joe helps him get out of the cop killing charge.
I ain't standing for no murder rap, no cop killer rap. You can help me. You got influence. You can do it. I didn't shoot them cops. Gimpy did.
Joe decides to go after Sarago by himself. Julia says she can't live without him. Joe drives to the rail yard to find Sarago, still wearing his tuxedo. Joe starts taunting Sarago to get him to come outside.
I know you're in there, Gimp. You're not afraid, are you? Is that it, Gimpy? Are you afraid because you haven't got a couple of goons to protect you?
Sarago is like a rat in a barrel. Sarago is a big man, but he jumps out a window and runs away. Joe follows the limping man. Sarago finds a ladder leaning against a building and climbs to the roof. He tries to shoot Joe, but he is out of bullets. Sarago leaps on Joe from the roof. He cuts Joe's arm and Joe loses his gun. A sheriff's car is approaching as Sarago makes more cuts on Joe. Joe knocks Sarago back and recovers his gun. He shoots Sarago 3 times. A crowd arrives, along with Julia, still wearing an evening gown. She says, "Don't ever leave me, Joe." I'll be back with the conclusions and world-famous short summary following a word from our sponsors. Today's podcast is brought to you by I Need a Review. It's one of the best ways you can help the show, and I haven't gotten a review in a little bit of time. So if you've listened this far into the show, I would really appreciate you going to where you get your podcast and leaving me a review. Thanks a lot, it really helps the show get found. Conclusions. The major problem I have with this movie is the assortment of stories. It looked to me that 3 couples, a writer, and 3 gangsters were all converging on the same point, with that point being Joe.